Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of the show. Stardate 2015.224 at 22:09 Eastern Standard Time. We're joined here tonight by Chief Logistics Officer Captain Timberwolf. Give us a howl, good sir. That sounds like a very anticipating and happy howl right there. I like it. I like it. Our Chief Intelligence Officer Captain Sarcasm Detector.
Greetings.
Our Chief Science Officer, Captain Snipey, 47 Alpha.
Hello.
Our Chief of Cheesy Tactics, Captain S.O.B.
Hello.
And our Chief Engineer, Vel, at Jarvis and Alfred.
Hello.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for tonight's roundtable discussion we're going to have here and all the information that everybody has gathered. I believe our Chief Intelligence Officer has a message for our Chief Engineer here.
I see you actually managed to get out of the holodeck. Last I saw, you were something about Leah Brahms, or was it Lee Brahms, her son, and the holodeck?
Hey, I'm just going to say that you can't talk about that if I can't talk about Packlets.
Okay.
You kids, come on, be nice to each their own. Don't be judgmental now. Exactly.
But I think we have some sad news for tonight.
Well, sad but promising news here, because this is something that is actually inspiring for people, and we should look at this as something that's another part of a journey. So we'll let our Chief Engineer deliver this set of news here.
Well, this is good news for some of those listening who are tired of hearing me, and sad news for the rest of you, but this is going to be my last appearance on the show, at least for quite some time. I'm taking engineering classes, actually, and unfortunately it means I'm not going to be able to make it to the show. So, to everyone out there, I've appreciated all the support so far, and keep tuning in, because these guys are really good.
So I keep making the jokes. Have you seen our Chief Engineer? It's actually becoming literal. Wow.
But congrats on going back to school. That is a great achievement.
You'll be missed, mate.
Yeah, but you know, this will actually be a good stepping stone for you. And for anybody out there who contemplating going back to school, just do it. Nothing to it, just do it. All right, diving right into the show. Season 11, folks. You heard the announcement, Star Trek Las Vegas. They brought out their trailer for Season 11, subtitled A New Dawn. A New Dawn. A New Dawn. Did you guys ever hear something like that beforehand?
Not
rings a bell.
related.
No, that doesn't ring a bell anyway?
Sounds familiar.
It's kind of familiar, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I can't put my finger on it either. It's right there and just the tip of my tongue. I can't work it out.
And all I can think of is this silly shield with TS on it, and I have no idea what that could possibly symbolize either.
New Dawn. I can't. Nah. That can't be right. That can't be right.
I'm sure it will come to us eventually.
Something, right?
Wait. Wasn't there there was something not long ago. Hold on. What was it again? Was it a...
It was a video.
a YouTube video, maybe?
You know, funny you say that, because I thought there was something like that going around here beforehand, but I just can't... I just can't put my finger on it anywhere here. I mean, it might sound like...
But there is a new dawn approaching.
Nah.
No.
Nah. Anyway, moving right.
Coincidence.
Moving right along. That's nothing there. The-Grand-Nagus has some good news for us as far as what is and isn't coming along with Season 11, especially with being the whole Admiralty System, whether you will use your ships or you won't use your ships. So we wanted to give a good shout out to the-Grand-Nagus. Thank you for the information and collecting it there. What we do have coming in, they will be using a generic doff style to represent the type and class of ship they'll have. Nothing unique about the actual ships itself. Whatever, if you have a bird of prey, it'll be a bird of prey for everybody, regardless of whether you actually own a bird of prey or not. So that will be there. Nothing as far as the actual gear that you have will affect this. It's treated just like another doff. You get this thing. It's like you have it that you could trade with other people before you bind it to yourself, I'm assuming, and you just go ahead and use it. Doff 2.0 or Doff new system. So again, shout out to The-Grand-Nagus for collecting this information, and we will post the thread in the description below.
Did you contact him about this beforehand?
Oh, I did contact him beforehand. Oh, I forgot. But you know what? I invoke Rule of Acquisition number 37, so my bases are covered.
Well, all right. I gotta say, though, on a serious note, I really like the way they're doing this, given that they're implementing it, because I don't want to have to put Mark 14 Epic gear on every single ship I own to get the maximum effectiveness out of it through this system, so I'm glad that I don't have to do that. I don't want to be locked out of a ship just because I sent it away on some mission, because I've got a lot of ships because, well, I like to fly them. And so making the decision between sending it out on some mission or being able to fly it for that time would be frustrating. And this way, especially if they're copying it off the doff system, I don't have to worry about something funny happening and losing my ship or the attached gear or anything, because I'm not actually using the ship. So I think the way they're doing it works out really well from a player's perspective.
The one question I would have for this is, are the new doff ships going to have abilities like our normal duty officers, and what those are going to be as far as the new missions? Because we have a wide variety of abilities on our duty officers. Will the ship versions have the same thing?
I wouldn't see why not.
Really funny if the ships just granted basically their starship trait as basically a duty officer.
I kind of see it more like you have a ship that's pretty much attack, like an escort. You see it more like attack style. Then you'll have your science class ships as more with science abilities or science traits to them. The same thing with engineering ones. You have your cruiser ones that will be more robust, will have more engineering type skills to be able to work with missions where you have to repair a busted shield facility or repair a warp core on another ship. That sort of thing. So I could see that there. But the hardcore player in me wants to say, you know what, have an element of it where you can have some of your own ships for like really hard missions. Go out there. And depending on how well geared your ship is, you would get bonus rewards coming back in. But you're locked out from using that ship. That's the hardcore player in me saying, I would like to have that type of system in there where I could have this extreme risk for reward type of scenario. But that's just me, and I see that's not for everybody, so I say overall they're expanding on the DOF scheme of things. My own personal taste would have been implement your own ships, but I can see where that could get really messy, so I'm not faulting anybody for it. I just say, if in a perfect world, I would have loved to seen something like that.
My main question, it's just the only question, and if Borticus is listening, maybe he can reply to the show afterwards, is, are the Admiralty ships the ships you own or the ships you have on your roster? Because I own a lot more ships than I have on my roster.
I have most of my event ships unclaimed on most of my characters because I have a lack of space for them.
Yeah, I've gotten rid of some of the event ships. Thank goodness that they implemented that system where you can just reclaim them. And most of my C-store ships are also discharged. So, the question again, if you do not have the ship but in your roster but you own it, does that qualify as a Admiralty ship? And if not, the other question is, if it's only ships in your roster, then let's say you have that ship, you get the Admiralty ship, and then you discharge it. Will it stay in the Admiralty? There's some good questions there.
I'm honestly of the opinion, and this is my own speculation here, that your Admiralty ships will be collected just like you collect doffs currently. There's some system that'll be used to distribute these Admiralty ships. If they coincidentally line up with a ship that you own, that's just it, a coincidence. Whatever you do with that doff ship, whether you use it or trade it or send it on a mission, has no bearing to whatever ship you actually own and are capable of piloting. So those two are completely separate systems. You have your doffing system, which will include your normal alien entity or human entity, humanoid being type doffs, and then you have your ship type doffs. And then that's that system, completely separate from the ships that you own.
It's an interesting theory. We still got, what, a month and a bit for that to come out? So we'll
I'll throw you 100
End of
dilithium.
October.
End of October? Yeah, I could wait that long. I got 100 dilithium on it.
Like I said, perhaps Borticus is listening and he can chirp in with some more info.
We always welcome it. Thank you. All right. Without anything else to discuss on that, we're going to move on to some news here by our Chief of Cheesy Tactics concerning Armada System. Go for it.
Okay, not specifically the Armada System, but the research lab, the weekly fleet buff projects that came out with Research Lab in 10.5. Currently, they are extremely expensive and they're broken. Currently, they'll cost 200,000 experience, around 250 to 300 fleet marks, and around 20 to 25k dill. And then the really, really expensive part is 750,000 fleet credits. That's equivalent to 750k dill, or what is that? 15,000 fleet marks.
Ouch.
It's something that's out of range for the majority of fleets out there. Currently, it's supposed to be a week-long buff. It only lasts for 5 days, and on Tribble, our tests are showing that it's only lasting about a day. So it's really, really not worth it right now. The bonuses at Tier 3, the combat buff is a plus 20% all damage, plus 40 all resist, plus 10% speed and turn, and plus 10% run speed / dodge. And that's probably the best compared to the other two, which is a skill point 5% buff and a dill bonus of 10%. At that cost, none of the projects are really justified, especially when they're only lasting a day.
For what it's worth, I'm mainly in the Reddit fleets, and the conversations that I've had, which admittedly were representative of their opinions at the time, they might change that, but basically they're only going to run the skill point boost, because most of the people in the fleets need help leveling up more than they need help doing DPS, because it's a comparatively small amount until you start approaching record setting, in which case you'll start to notice it. So that's been my big objection to it, is small fleets don't have the resources to run this, and most of the big fleets that aren't DPS-specific fleets, or PvP-specific fleets, I suppose, as well, aren't going to be running this, which I think the whole idea behind things like fleet invites, where as long as you have permissions and provisions, you can purchase from a full T5 star base with a T1, that whole thing was designed to make it so that being in a small fleet doesn't put you at a disadvantage. Then we have this here where this project puts a small fleet, or one that's not focused on extreme PvP or PvP, at a disadvantage, and that's upsetting to me.
What about
750,000 fleet credits, though, is very high, considering all the other things that, all the other goodies that you can get from the research lab in terms of extra starship traits and rep traits and those sort of things. Those cost a significant amount of fleet credits as well. So to maintain a weekly, assuming that it is meant to go for weekly, not daily, that's still a significant amount of fleet credits required weekly.
I believe
Why could they just go on?
I believe to get all the 5th trade slots is going to cost you about over 600,000 fleet credits. and maybe like 200,000
Yeah, it's a couple
dilithium,
100,000 deal, yeah.
So
something
why
like
not?
that.
Yeah, so why not have it to where if they want to keep this cost, have a bigger boost or bigger magnitude, at least for the other two, so that way you have like a 2 week long skill point boost or a 2 week long dilithium boost or discount, whatever you want to use it for, and then have lower tiers of those bonuses lasting either for a week or slightly less percent boost for it, or increase the percent boost for the higher the current pricing on it, and then have reduced boosts for lower tiers on it. That way, you're not punishing the smaller fleets for this temporary buff, because that's a huge price for a temporary buff, even at a week. That's insane.
What I
750,000 fleet credits, I would see that as a month-long buff.
For
Realistic.
5%, for 5% boost to skill.
Yeah, 750,000, like you said, that's 750,000 dilithium or 15,000 fleet marks. Um, Basically, you'd have to grind multiple hours every single day to get 15,000 fleet marks. It's kind of crazy. It used to be easier before with no win scenario, but nowadays, I mean, I think the most you can get is maybe like 100 fleet marks, maybe 150 fleet marks, depending on the queue. There might be a queue out there that gives a little bit more, maybe 200. So it takes a while to get there. Even if you're talking about a fairly active fleet, most people are going to want to save their fleet credits for other things. It's really a big price to pay for what I consider to be a mediocre buff at best.
Now, if with something like this, though, this I see this more or less tailored to fleets that the vast majority of the members already have everything else, and then they're either going to start leveling alt, so you want to turn on the experience or the skill point buff, or they want to start doing a bunch of STFs as a fleet, then they start turning that on. So if that's the intent of this, even then, 5 days, 7 days, that's still short for the cost.
In my opinion, they should. If I was balancing this, and well, that's not exactly up to me, I would remove the fleet credit cost, I would remove the damage resist one, and I would replace that with a bonus to fleet marks or fleet credits gained for the duration. Because I feel like that would, again, synergize with the whole we want to grow a fleet idea, or we want to grow players. Fleet mark, help grow the fleet credit, help get the players to the gear faster. And that would remove the, pay 750,000 fleet credits a week to stay competitive at the very top tier work from that. Because I'll be honest, I really don't care if my fleet runs skill points, fleet credits, whatever. If I'm a high-end player, that doesn't really affect me. If I'm a new player, any of those three would affect me, but a bonus to damage and resist really isn't going to. So if you want to gear this towards making it balanced and making this more accessible to smaller fleets, or making it so that smaller fleets aren't left out, remove the fleet credit cost and remove the combat stats one.
Yeah, I agree with Val there. It just seems like a typo to me. I don't think it was intended. It looks like they added 2 or 3 extra zeros to that price. If it was a monthly thing, and in the process, while the buff is running, you're getting a buff to fleet mark acquisition or fleet credit acquisition as the buff is running, that would be great. And if it was just like a once per month project, that'd be reasonable. But if it's a weekly project, I would see 7,500 fleet credits for the project, not 750,000. I think, though, speaking about intended or not intended, I think Borticus replied somewhere that it's currently not as working as intended.
Yep, he responds further down in the thread. saying, let me pull it up here, that they are investigating it, both the cost and the buff duration timers. Neither sound as though they're working as intended.
Okay, so if it's not working as intended, then we can probably just move on at this point. It's bugged. It's not working as intended. Have you actually gone onto Tribble today to see if they made any changes?
Yes, I have Tribble up right now.
Okay, is it the same price as usual?
Yes,
So they haven't gotten to that yet.
not yet.
All right. Well, the other problem now is that if someone slots this and their fleet is not capable of filling 750,000 fleet credits, then their upgrade has ground to a halt. They can't remove it. They can't do anything. So hopefully no one makes that mistake. In my fleet, only R7s can slot these projects, and hopefully my other fleet leaders, my fellow fleet leaders, are smart enough not to slot this project. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck for months with it.
All right. Since we were already on the topic of Tribble, we've done some testing thanks to some dev invitations that went out, and I've actually reloaded Tribble for the first time in ages. And went on there with a bunch of you guys, and I have to say, some of the changes that they have made this thing feel like it was a completely new game.
It was epic.
Dude, it was
There's no other way to put it. It's epic.
Yeah,
I'll repeat. Oh.
it was just freaking nuts. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was near perfect. It was just like, what the hell? Where have you been all my life?
I think what shocked us most of all is that there was such a massive jump in playability based on what was on Tribble only a few days earlier. So what Borticus mentioned it in Sol System chat that I can't remember the developer's name now. I do apologise. Was tinkering with some of the back end code to do with activations. I think that's what he said, and he smoothed it out. And like whatever he did, it was fantastic.
Shout out to Flying Targ, who was the developer that I mentioned. Flying Targ, thank you.
Do apologise, Flying Targ, for not remembering your name, but whatever you did, it was epic. It really was. SOB said it during the first ISA that we were doing. He just goes, "Man, this is a different game." It was just the perfect way to put it.
I want to up in with some context on this. Thank you. First of all, it very much Flying Targ for that. We really appreciate it. It was also mentioned that it was somewhat of a nuclear option, and that because of, I basically get the impression that they ripped out half their old combat system or something and put it in a much newer, much more streamlined version. And he put it with the warning, we expect and we know that there will be bugs, and we've already fixed some of them, so just try and watch for those. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure I speak for the player base. We will take some new bugs and no lag, because I would rather have some bugs than lag. I mean, that's at least me.
If you're rebuilding the entire system at this point and saying, look, we're redoing this thing, here's the expectations, we expect problems along the way, we will stand up here and say, people, step back, let them do their work. We'll do that. We'll do that for you here.
Exactly. Like we did a Hive Elite. I think it was the second queue that we did in there, and on those Unimatrix ships at the end, just before you get to the Queen, it was all smooth. And just as we destroyed one of them, and just as we were getting about halfway through the second one, it activated its feedback pulse, and there was my map completely stopped for like what felt like a couple of seconds, and it happened to someone else in the queue as well. And then it was, I got killed by the feedback pulse. But that was the only issue that I encountered throughout the various queues I did then. So, and to me, encountering that, it was, well, that's just, a hiccup, basically. Like the rest of the system was working so well, if that happens, you just, nothing's perfect. You have that attitude about things.
The only issue I had over there was we tried a 3-2 split and in ISA, and just when the spheres all warped in, there was massive lag for a few seconds.
Oh,
But
shut up, you elitist.
Not the second time, though. It was the first time, but not the second time. Mm.
So one time it lags out, and the other time it's like, no big deal. It comes in there. Give it a break, you elitist.
So I guess maybe that sounds like they're front-loading a lot of those calculations, which would be an interesting way of doing it. I mean, I don't have any idea. I don't work there. I don't have the source code. But either way, as long as there's a major performance increase, which has really sounded like there is, sweet. I also find the Feedback Pulse thing funny, because 4 days ago I saw Feedback Pulse do 3.8 million damage, but that's a different story.
That is a different story. One thing I didn't actually notice, though, if there were any little graphical hiccups or any sort of latency, the UI trays seemed to be completely independent from what was going on. So I could still activate things and they would activate. But basically meaning that any bump that I did encounter was very, very small, but the UI activation is just so silky smooth and so responsive. It was fantastic.
It really was. You could actually activate an ability, and it was there. The millisecond you clicked it. It was more so than the lag, the lag-free runs. The fact that you could actually activate things without the 1 second cooldowns.
Oh.
Without anything missing, it was beautiful.
Is that what you're saying? Because activation times are something I always find interesting about this, like how team abilities, say, have a 1 second activation. The fact that heals have an activation timer is frustrating, but I kind of understand it at the same time. But are you saying they removed those too?
No. It's UI responsiveness. Like when you click something, it works. It's not like you click something and then a mini timer comes up and then you have to click it again. Sort of thing. One improvement I was confused of to begin with, but I think it's actually a really good improvement, is how they've made Intel Fleet grayed out for all other players while it's been activated by someone else. If they could do that to the other team buffs like TAC Team, Side Team, Eng Team, that would be a great quality of life improvement, because then you wouldn't waste that ability while it's active from somebody else. So so tomorrow when the patch hits and you notice that your Intel Fleet is grayed out, that's because you look on your flags, it's active from somebody else.
I'm really excited about that. My guess is that was only pushed out because it's a lag fix, not a quality of life, but whichever one it is, I'll take it and I'll be happy about it. And
absolutely.
If we could get that done for boost morale, TAC Fleet, Intel Fleet, or TAC Fleet, Sci Fleet, Eng Fleet, and whatever the pilot thing is.
The pulse from the Iconian 4-piece as well.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. So just to bring a little bit of context for those of you who might be confused about what we're talking about, the devs did a Fly with the Devs event on Monday and Tuesday for an hour each day. They invited the players to come onto Tribble and do a load test,
as well as come and test out everything that's happening with all of these space abilities, and we were testing out some of the high resource intensive maps like CCA and ISA. Pretty much those infected space and the crystalline event maps. So we went through them. We literally ran circles around there for a while. They got their metrics. They made some more adjustments to it. The first test was smooth. The second one felt a little bit smoother, although there was still a little bit of tray UI to actual ability activation latency. Despite ships real time, everything else is moving fine. NPC abilities are still hitting you in real time, so you can see the effect in real time with it. But that's what we were discussing there. A lot of the changes coming down the pipeline look very, very impressive. If we keep that up, please keep that up. Keep communicating with us about it. Flying Targ, if I have to buy you a couple steak dinners for the rest of your life, fix torpedoes for the love of everything that is nuclear. Thank you very much. Please
They did.
do it.
They released the crystalline torp, mate. That's the perfect torpedo.
Hey, you know what?
Um,
You know what? You can go shove that torpedo up somewhere else.
We were talking before the show. We were sort of saying like, if because people have a comment when we say that we've tested stuff on Tribble. Oh yeah, but that's Tribble and holodeck's different. We were sort of saying that if 80% of what we saw in Tribble yesterday arrives tomorrow, it's going to be a massive improvement to the system. So
Tremendously huge. Like, and if this maintains all the way through, we're putting out the APB for old players to say, look, come back, look at this thing here, try it yourself and see what's going on.
Yeah, even if it's a 50% improvement, that's a night and day difference.
Whew, it's going to be nice. I guess our chief intel officer just got yanked away for something real quick, and he's going to be back on here shortly. Meanwhile, Timberwolf, give us some logistics on what the episode Butterfly is all about.
Well, quite honestly, as of right now, there is not much out as far as what they've released. I did jump on Tribble to see if you could access the mission, and the little description they have on Tribble is that you're going to the Kiana system again to test out temporal incursion simulations. So what basically it sounds like to me, it's going to be a literal Year of Hell style mission where they're going to use the weapon to change the timeline, and there's going to be some sort of adverse effect. So that's probably what we're walking into, is something where we're going to change the timeline, and then we have to fix it. So be prepared for that. They'll probably debut the Krenim warship, not the Krenim warship, the Krenim Science Dreadnought in this mission. I'm just waiting, honestly, to see what they're going to do as far as not just the story, but what the 3-week reward system will be. It's just there's honestly not much out there.
I have a really interesting theory on this, actually. And as it happens, I was leveling up a Delta recruit today, and suddenly I realized we're doing all sorts of stuff. We're gathering intelligence on the Iconians, planting messages about the Iconians even as part of the Delta recruit extras. Maybe this device that they're creating, we end up using it not to erase Iconians from the timeline, but to actually form the Delta recruit projects. And it's the Delta recruits and all the info that they've gathered and spread around that makes the difference in this fight. And I personally would be really happy with that, because that ties this into something that we've already set up, and that makes it seem like significantly less of a stupidly overpowered machine that we're using. Like, it feels much more like something the Federation would do, rather than... I mean, given all the Borg that you kill, it's hard to say that committing genocide isn't something we do, but it feels like a much more Federation thing to do, to get informed about this, and to, maybe violate the Prime Directive a bit by training some new captains ahead of time, but not full-on wiping someone out of the timeline. I would be really cool. I think it'd be really cool if they did that.
Okay. I mean, I like that idea. I really do. Just something to tie further into what they've already done. Before I continue, I am going to read from our mail. Our Chief Intelligence Officer lost power, so he's working on returning. Salami Inferno has indicated on Reddit chat that they now have a team dedicated to fixing lag and new monitoring tools. So he wanted to add that. Now, since there's not much for the episode, I really can't focus on it much. They probably won't release that stuff until tomorrow, but I can focus on one thing. That is the Krenim Dreadnought. I believe Odin has a page ready for showing off as the stats have come out. Now, I'm going to say right now, because I have some people emailed me in game and all of that I'm a little critical about starships. I'm cheap. I really don't buy every starship that comes out there. I typically, if it's a good starship, I have to save up for it. So I have to be critical as far as where my currency is going. I wanted to just do that as a disclaimer. With the Krenim Dreadnought, it's something I'm going to save up for. But considering that it's part of the duty officer promotion that they have going, I won't have it unless I can buy it from the exchange. Just because of the rare drop rate extremely rare drop rate for this vessel. But what they've done with this thing, I like. I will honestly say that. I'll just read off some of the things they've got here. We've got, first off, the first thing that jumps to mind, the shield modifier is 1.45. From what I've been able to gather, that is the highest shield modifier that we've seen.
That is actually not true. It is tied with the Wells and the Palisade, but the Science DSDs have a 1.457 shield modifier.
Okay.
Which is still really good.
Those are ships that I don't have.
Yeah. And as a quick secondary analysis, this thing also has 30% more hull than a Wells, 18% more than a Palisade, and 25% more than a DSD. So as far as raw hull and shields go, this ship is a definite outlier. There's not many. It's almost a cruiser level hull, honestly.
Well, and what I'm thinking is that's kind of a cruiser in some of its aspects, because it's been labeled as a science vessel, but it's also a dreadnought. Most times you see science, you see 3-3 on its weapon setup, and this one has a 4-3 on its weapon setup.
I called this the scimitar of science ships. I'll be honest, it has an extra weapon. It has a very, very solid console setup. It's got exceptional hull and shield for its class even, and it turns incredibly slowly. To me, that's basically what the scimitar was, is you took an escort, you gave it cruiser hull shield turn, and you threw on a hangar bay and an extra weapon.
Yeah, and it's got a good bridge officer layout. You've got Lieutenant Commander Tactical Intel, Commander Science, Lieutenant Universal Intel, Lieutenant Commander Universal. The only one that's kind of lacking is engineering. But you can do a lot of things with that. Honestly, I've been able to look at one of my science tunes, and I can pretty much duplicate between bridge officer and console layout the Fleet Dauntless gravity whale build that we've been doing. I can duplicate that here with probably some good success. On top of the fact that the secondary deflector and sensor analysis.
And yes, for anyone who was following Reddit earlier and hasn't caught up, there is a secondary deflector on it. That was just a mistake when it was out for the first hour or so.
Yeah.
I will say, this ship, I will be shocked if it goes below 450 million on the exchange. It's set up beautifully to be a Psi ship with 7 weapons, everything a Psi ship needs, 5 Psi consoles, secondary deflector, all that. It's got a good science trait. It's also a very good tactical ship because it can run, 2 Lieutenant Commander tacticals, 4 TAC consoles, and a whole bunch of Psi consoles if you want. And I know at least 3 people that are thinking of taking in it because it's got the raw hull and shields and it's got the universal seating to pull that off as well. This is a very, very solid ship. The only thing that strikes me about it is you have a lance that deals anti-proton damage, you have a console that deals anti-proton damage, and you have pets that only debuff disruptor resistance. And I just find that a funny combination.
It
I
is
smell
weird.
overpowered.
But with the lance, I'm seeing a lot of people are going to build this the same way they've built other ships that have lances. Since this is anti-proton, they'll build it, since they're going to build with anti-proton weapons, that'll just simply boost the lance. So I could see that actually working out in the favor of anti-proton runners.
I think it's definitely, and I want to say also for anyone listening, there's a really good reason they made it anti-proton. If you look back to the Chronoton dual beam make that's been in the Lobby store for I don't know how many years, that deals anti-proton damage. Like, Chronoton has been tied into anti-proton for as long in this game as I know, and it would make no sense for them to release it with any other type of damage.
This is true. But just what they've done with this ship, it's very nice. I like the fact that they haven't stated that extra forward weapon slot is tied down by something. For example, the DSD, you had 4 weapon slots forward, but one of them was locked down with a weapon you could not remove. And so far they haven't stated that be the case here. So it's going to be 4 actual weapon slots you can use. And I like that.
I mean, I suppose it's technically possible one of them could be the lance, but I really don't read it like that, since that's listed somewhere completely else on the page. And, I mean, also there was the Fleet Patrol Escort with that fused tailgun, but I'm pretty sure it was announced that was on there. I just need to look at the page again, I suppose.
Now, one thing I will mention because of these 2 abilities, and I'm gonna ask your opinion on this, Vel, as far as how this is going to work. Sensor analysis plus the Krenim console as the massive time debuff that it is, do you think those two abilities will stack with each other?
Which part specifically?
As far as you've got a sensor analysis debuff over time, then you have the timeline analysis sensor grid that does a growing debuff for 10 seconds, and then if it's held for 10 seconds, it holds the max debuff for an additional 10. Do you think those two could be stacked together, or will they act independently? Just going on theory.
Just going on gut, I would say they would act independently. You could stack one on the other, both at the same time. I would also say with them releasing probably the best T6 science ship we'll basically ever see, as far as it looks right now at least, this would be a really good time for them to fix the various bugs with sensor analysis, because there's a few really nasty ones out there, like it doesn't increase damage to shields, and it decreases shield drains. Like if I lock sensor analysis on you, the value of shields that I can drain from you goes down. It would be really nice if we could look at some bugs with sensor analysis right now and get those figured out, because I think a fixed sensor analysis would be really a big selling point for this ship, even more than it already was. But we'll see what happens.
You've got the universal console that came out that its passive improves exotic damage ability moderately. Moderately is a generic term. The court is going to be out on that until we actually see the numbers. And it's increasing flight speed, turn rate, immunity to energy damage. You also deal substantially less energy damage for the duration. Then once it's done, you cause a moderate amount of anti-proton damage, hold enemies, and reduced rate of which their abilities recharge. To me, that's going to be an interesting thing to play with. I don't know about running constantly, but it looks like something interesting to play with. One thing I noticed is they didn't say with console synergy, you're going to be able to put the Mannheim device and the triple cylinder on this ship as well, but they haven't listed under console synergy. But so far they haven't listed if it's going to be part of a set bonus and what those set bonuses are, or if it's merely you can install these consoles on the starship.
I looked at my Tipler cylinder about an hour ago, and the tooltip has space for a full set description, but obviously there's no detail for it yet. So
it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to clarify, we're talking about a total of 5 consoles here, right? Because there's the Temporal Science Vessel, the Temporal Destroyer, and then 3 Krenim ships. Right, like I'm not missing any other consoles. There's only 5 total consoles that the ship equips, right?
Well, funny, it's only listing 4 under the console synergy right here. The Tipper
it's not listing its own.
Device, the timeline analysis sensor grid, and the temporal shielding matrix. So yeah, it's not listing the distortion field,
which is weird. So there's the court's gonna be out on that, because we're gonna have to find out more details on that. The starship trait, that's a little interesting little thing right there. While equipped, all of your Science Bridge Officer abilities will boost your damage slightly, stacking 3 times. So pretty much on a science boat, you're using Science Officer abilities a lot. Should be a good chance to boost, but the question for this, of course, is what the percentage of damage is boosted, and, of course, how it stacks, and then what category it is and what it boosts.
If I may interject here, I think...
Does it boost torpedoes?
Well, no. Just because, there is a doff that actually works like this for torpedoes. So I'm going to say if they took the code from that and applied it here, it'll be a Cat 1 boat boost, 5%, stacking 3 times. Done.
Okay.
I would expect the numbers to be much higher for this kind of a trait, simply because when you look at some of the other starship traits out there, for example, Pedal to the Metal is up to a 20% Category 2 boost. Their improved Pedal to the Metal is, at least. And a 5% Cat 1 stacking up to 3 times would be incredibly lackluster. I would expect at least a 10% Cat 1, if not a 20, or maybe a 5 or 10% Cat 2 would be what I'd be expecting, honestly, is 10% Cat 2.
I may be underestimating the words slightly. Again, the jury will still be out, but that's just my interjection on it, based off of previous experience with some other items in the game that behave like that.
And I will agree with Vel. After this, it does state the hangar pets and what weapons they're using. So something that's built around a Chronoton Lance, which does anti-proton damage, for the innate pets to do disruptor damage, is kind of funny. And guaranteed, when the ship does come out, it will have the disruptor weapons that are standard for the Coalition equipped. So it's kind of conflicting. But the good thing about pets is we could switch them out at the very least.
Yeah, and I don't see any other way they can do this, because clearly you've got to make the Chronoton anti-proton because you established that. And I think we'd also established that Coalition disruptors were the Krenim's weapons. Although I think originally... No, it was someone else in the Delta Quadrant that was using... Oh, the Kazon was using the retrophasers. Never mind that. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's just a funny choice when you look at it.
It is.
I guess you could throw Chronoton weapons on the Raiders. That'd be cool, but probably not at this point.
But
And
I
can
think
we get the pets to stop stealing concentrate firepower? Please. Please. Please.
Well, overall, my opinion of this starship is it is a really good one, and once I can afford it on the exchange, I'm going to get it. But for those that are going to play the lottery, try not to have too much of a headache when you're playing the lottery, because you got to remember the drop rate is going to be very low. So you might get lucky on 1, or you might get unlucky on 500.
It is with these a 1.1% drop rate.
So there you go, 1.1%, and it's random per box. So don't spend all your Zen on as many as you can get and then think you're guaranteed one. I've heard of this from previous players doing this on the other events, and they could go through 500 to 600 of these and still not get the ship. So it's just kind of one of those trade-offs.
If you really want it, just buy the packs and sell them on the exchange.
RNG
Well,
is
of
a fickle
course.
lady. I'll put it that way to you. I mean, I got lucky with the Shashar. I got 2 off the bat of my first 10 boxes. Sold 1, bought a whole bunch of boxes. Didn't get butt kiss for I lost count after 70, but it was a while. And then I finally got 3 almost in a row after that point in time. So I was like, yeah, so.
It's a trade-off. I mean, for me
trade-off.
personally, I'm going to buy it off the exchange. I don't want to play the lottery like that. I just prefer save up, have a guaranteed hit, one-time hit. The thing is, Vel's right. It's going to be a high price, very high price ship on the exchange that I do not think is going to drop much from 500 million. It might go to 450 million, but I expect it to stay with the way it is as a Science Dreadnought. I expect it to stay very expensive.
Yeah, I just want to share my own funny story. I've dabbled with keys every now and then because, why not? It's fun. Gambling's it's a bad idea, kids. Don't do it, but it's fun. And I first 9 months of play, probably opened 100 or 200 keys, didn't get a ship, probabilities, whatever. Some guy one day, I'm pretty sure I remember the guy's name, but I can't think of it off the top of my head, so you know who you are, and thank you. Wanted to say thanks for something, gifted me 3 of the attack ship packs back when we had the attack ship, was the only ship out there. Just opened the 3 of them just because why not, and got a strike ship out of that. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was really funny because I had system notifications turned off, and I didn't realize I'd opened it until someone said, "Oh wow, congrats!" I'm like, "Oh, what's it open?" Oh, yeah. So I mean, yeah, someone's got to open these, and I appreciate every single one of you that's out there opening these tomorrow. Wait till after the patch tomorrow. Don't do any of this tonight. Wait till tomorrow. I appreciate all those people that are going to be because you'll help me afford mine.
Ha 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 ha.
That being
Alright,
said,
John.
though, this is the sort of ship that, that would probably get more business from if they did make this sort of ship account-wide. These special these special event ships,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
like I could use the trait on on my tack toon and my science toon, and I could use the ship on my science toon. You know, a lot of us have got more than one main, even though it's been made a lot more difficult to maintain or to progress your characters since Delta Rising because of the spec trees. But you know, we're getting through it slowly. But yeah, like, you know, with a 1.1% drop rate, you know, to get 2 ships, it's, you know, it's either, you know, save up and get them off the exchange, or, you know, 2 ships off the exchange, you know, and be saving up for next year, or, you know, these sort of special ships like the Shisha, the attack ship, and this sort of thing. If you're lucky enough to get one from a box, make it account wide.
I have to agree.
Completely. The fact that I'm even getting 2 of these is mostly a testament to the fact that I played the market well for the past couple of months, and also that I finally found enough stuff to upgrade on one of my characters, and I was a bit bored and didn't feel like spending it. But I know a whole lot of people, especially the ones clamoring for T6 science ships for Romulans and KDF players, would be so much more likely to buy this if, I'm sure everyone out there that means a science ship, if you could get this on multiple characters for buying it once, so many people out there that wouldn't blow 400 on one ship might blow 400 on an account unlock.
Or possibly a C-store, since it...
Oh, C-store, this would sell like hotcakes.
Even make it the first 3,500 or 4,000 Zen ship on the C-store, I could see it guaranteed selling because of what it is and what it would mean for KDF and Romulan science.
This would be basically a must-buy. Like, even if you made it so that there was a character-bound version in the promo pack, just as a because, and 4K or 40K in the Zen store, because an account when unlocked for a promo ship, hey, you can justify making that more. But if you don't have the Zen, you can just buy it for the one character, or whatever. That would still sell like hotcakes.
All right, wrapping up the show, gentlemen. Anything else you want to state?
It's really been great. Thank you so much for my time on the show. You guys are wonderful. Everyone listening is wonderful. 20 devs listening to this, thank you for all the feedback. And, well, have fun, guys.
Just make sure you don't have any pack leads come and pick you up. And don't spend too much time in the holodeck. Remember, real life is out there.
Got it.
No,
Good
but
luck,
seriously, man. Good luck and enjoy life and do well. Do well at what you do, seriously. And we appreciate you being on here. And the door's always open for you. You always have a mic here. So don't be a stranger.
I will see what I can do.
Oh,
I'm
look,
so
our Chief
glad.
Intelligence Officer is back. Just to
Sarcasm's
let you
back.
off of a farewell just in time.
Well, my
Yeah,
time
it
to
was.
go now.
It was just a number of Section 31 stooges messing with stuff they shouldn't have, so I had to eliminate them. I'm back now.
I told them to get into the torpedo chamber, not the spirit bomb chamber. The torpedo chamber. My goodness, they can't do
Oh, they
anything
messed
right.
with your warp core and shut everything down, didn't they?
Yeah, but now their particles spread thinly across space, so I'm happy.
You're ruthless, son. Completely ruthless.
This is why I promised to pay them upon successful completion, not ahead of time.
So what? Are we done? What?
Yeah, we're wrapping up, man. Closing comments.
As
Yeah,
a
well-
reminder, they are doing a giveaway event this week, so check the C-Store daily to see what the free item is. Today it is a Section 31 costume, and they'll announce what the next day's
Now, do you have to
items
unlock
will be.
it for each one of your tunes, or you just collected once on
It
one
should
tune
be
you can
just
get it?
one tune, and it'll unlock.
Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
a C-Store unlock, 100% off, and I will say if you're looking at it for stealth values, Cam can tell you from experimental evidence today that it's not the greatest at hiding pack leads.
No.
Well, speaking of this, though, I actually had a request from one of the players out there. So if any devs are listening, especially environment and content devs, add some Cardassian gear and weapons into the game for ground, especially any sort of dress uniforms. People like it. They want to see it. They want to RP in it. That's just a request, passing it out there. So, kudos everybody out there. Go on, and I'll segue to what I was going to say here anyway.
Yeah, speaking of requests, while I was out, I got an email from the Loot Critter. So it's a good thing we have you here, Vel, right now. The question is, can you guys explain the Category 1-2 designation? I guess he's talking about the categories of weapon damage. Or can you point us in the direction to where it is explained? I hear it referenced every episode, but I don't fully understand its origin and how it's used.
I would be happy to step in and talk about this, and as usual, you guys have permission to link the relevant STO Builds wiki part. So basically, what it is, so you know if you multiply A times B, it doesn't matter which one you multiply first. So what happens is they take something like all your Category 1s, let's call your Category 1s A, B, and C, and D is a Category 2. So what you would do here is you add A, B, and C together, and then you multiply the sum of A, B, and C by D, because D is in its own different category. And then if D and E are over in Category 2, oh, thank you, I should probably try using this. Yeah.
The draw function? Let's see.
Yes, the draw function. Let's see if I can do this. So that's actually what I could probably do is turn on screen share and pull up OneNote. Give me a second for that. Right? I can push out my screen somehow. Screen share. Yeah. Oh, let's go here. All right. So everyone see what I'm working on right now?
Yep.
All right. So you have like, I have really bad drawing skills with a mouse. So all of this would be your Category 1. Really bad, I apologize. But then you have like over here, your Category 2s. And so what that means is basically, right, there's, if you can't read that, that's A plus B plus C times D plus E. And so what the different category simply refers to is which things does it get added with, and to figure out which things it gets multiplied by. So if I come up with item H, and I find out that H is a Category 1, then I'm going to put this over in here with the rest of the Category 1s. So this is the whole concept of, like, I think the term I heard was additive diminishing returns. That's why TAC consoles are getting less and less relevant, is because it's not that they're worse. Because stat consoles are providing the same numerical boost that they always have. It's just that if you look at 900, again, really bad, over like 875, that's a significantly smaller percentage than if you look at 125 over 100. Because there, it's giving you 25%. Now here, it's still giving you 25 damage, but it's giving you a much smaller damage increase if you look at the percentage. So that's the whole deal with Category 1, 2, 3, etc. Does that make sense to you guys?
Crystal.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We understand it, of course, because we know all about it. It's just that the people out there might not. So some people might get actually a little bit confused by it. That's completely understandable. What Bell was also just talking about was dilution of a category, which you might hear us talk about quite a lot, especially the dilution of Category 2. A lot of the new buffs that have been coming out, the big power creep that's coming out, most of it is Category 2. So the more Category 2 buffs you have, the less impact each buff gets. So
and that includes critical severity. Critical severity is Category 2 buff.
Incidentally, there's a similar phenomenon going on over with damage resistance as far as debuffs go, because basically the short version is everyone knows you have your main resistance, stuff like Oxidus, skill points, armor consoles, whatever. Those are the main source of damage resist. There's a curve that gives you diminishing returns that does unless you pass 75%. There's a second source of hull resistance that's an independent multiplier that's basically never been touched outside of the 3 times it was introduced, but that's the main reasoning that ISA tanks go by active hull hardening. because that trait is outside the main curve and it's wonderful. But anyway, on the debuff side of things, you've got a whole bunch of abilities like attack pattern beta, attack pattern delta, disruptors, all that stuff. Used to be what 99% of the debuffs were, and they applied to their own type of debuff. And the problem with that debuff is it got less effective. Well, actually, both kinds of debuffs get less effective the more debuffed the target is, but those also got less effective the more hull resists the target had. So in PvP, for example, they weren't as good as they were in PvP. And then we have this second type of debuff. You call it whatever you want. Things like chemosite-laced weaponry, Alachi disruptors, nanite disruptors, and recently everything that's been coming out has utilized that debuff mechanic exclusively. And what that does is that actually decreases the return you get on that type of resistance debuff. So what's happening is we're pulling normal disruptors and attack pattern beta into being relatively stronger than, or they're getting more power relative to things like Pen, Intofleet, Subwar Sheath, and all that, but that's not really something that you're nearly as concerned about, since you just want to debuff as much as possible, and it'd take quite a lot for Pen to stop being the best weapon mod out there. But it's been really interesting to see, since Delta Rising is basically when the flip from stacking Category 1s and normal debuffs to Category 2s and this injury form of debuff started.
Yeah, and this is also why we stress the new damage mod is fantastic, especially for tax. Going back to the Category 1s, Category 2s, the more Category 1 buffs you have, and the more Category 2 buffs you have, the less meaning or the less powerful those buffs become. They're getting diluted. However, the more diluted they become, the more important the damage mod becomes, because it is a final mod at the very, very, very end. Although I think there is a curve somewhere where a certain amount of critical chance determines which one's better, but that's kind of ridiculously high.
Actually, it depends on how diluted your stuff is. For example, Romulan engineers, this was a case I found that made me really happy. Basically, because Romulan engineers are at the point where we're not saturating ourselves with go down fighting, attack pattern alpha, all that, but we have all those Romulan operatives to buff up your crit chance. So if you're running a very offensive ship, you have a high stacked crit H, but not enough Cat 2s to make damage the top mod because crit severity is still really good. And the way I want to slightly rephrase something you said. Oversaturating your Category 1s and Category 2s doesn't make damage a more powerful mod. It decreases the relative strength of crit D, so because damage is just a constant and you're decreasing what you're comparing to, in comparison, damage is getting better, even though its number is staying the same, because if you compare 3% to 4%, and suddenly you change that 4 to 3.5 to 2, 3 looks like it's gotten better.
Well, it's because it's a final mod, it's a final multiplier. The more of the earlier category buffs that you have, the more it's going to multiply. So,
well, yeah, 3% of 100 is more than 3% of 50, if that's what you're going after.
Something like that, yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I'm going to include Vel's links because I do have his permission in there with the math. On the description below, we're going to have this thing broadcast and repeated as many times as possible. Wherever you find us, don't be afraid to ask questions. Just make sure these guys get some breathing room so they can enjoy the game as well before you bombard them. But this is one of the reasons why we have this up here. And bringing this up now, I finally got some code fixed. So we are able to take the show with you on the road. As soon as I upload the rest of the episodes on there, you'll be able to download by selecting whichever episode you want. It'll automatically download on whatever browser you have. I'm also going to upload it so it'll be mobile friendly, so you can take it with you or queue them all up on your mobile device, and you can start listening to them as you see fit whenever you want to. Start, stop, pause, yell at us for a while, then play it again. It's all good for you. You'll have that ready on there. Don't mind the quote-unquote website for the show. Just threw that thing together literally off of a scratch pad. So it'll improve a little bit here and there, but I just want to keep it simple. Keep it straightforward and direct to the point. We'll have information on there for people, including our chief engineer's mathematics on how to read a combat log, how to figure out the damage categories, the formulas that he's used to derive all this fun stuff. We'll have links to everybody's YouTube channels for more information, whether it's how to play, how to better off have fun in the game, as well as upcoming interviews and episodes of the show, including PvP, including we're getting our feet dirty in a couple of episodes, including other people we're going to talk to within the community that may hold some weight here. Not mentioning names yet. Not mentioning names. Still in negotiation here. But there will be a couple episodes on the show that you will not want to miss. So stay tuned for them all.
I do want to add a side note because I've gotten quite a few comments about it. We are working on live chat. Currently, it's kind of escaping us at the moment. We are working on having a live chat up for all of our shows, so that way if you have a question that you'd like to answer while we're discussing it, we can actually see it and ask it immediately. So just give us some time to work on that, and we are going to have that available as well.
Alright, and quick note for what it's worth, I'm told that I need to clarify this math stuff more, so I'm going to make an effort, since I've got some time off next week, to see if I can make a quick video that explains it better. And I'll use I have a tablet computer for engineering, so I can draw on the screen with an actual pen, which is a whole lot more legible, so we'll see what I can do about that.
Sweet, thank you very much. And for everybody else out there, thank you for listening to the show. On behalf of everybody here that supported the show, whether you're on air or not, past guests, we want to wish our chief engineer a very, very good life out there outside of the show. We know you're going to do well anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, you know, again, doors always open for you. Mike's always ready for you. You have a voice here on the show. We appreciate the efforts that you've given not only to us, but to the rest of the community at large. And we hope you do well on your new ventures.
Well, you just put us in a really uncomfortable position right now. I mean, who are we going to find to replace you? Really? Come on, man.
There ain't nobody going to replace
You
this
don't need
man here.
engineers. No one needs an engineer in this game. They're worthless, can't do anything, never going to set any records.
Dude, he's just going to school during term breaks. I'm sure he can come back as a bit of a cameo.
Something like that.
I'll see what happens.
You know it, buddy. All right. So, from our Chief Logistics Officer, Captain Timberwolf, our Chief Intelligence Officer, Captain Sarcasm Detector, our Chief Science Officer, Captain Snipey 47 Alpha, our Chief of Cheesy Tactics, who's probably going to be very happy come tomorrow, where he can actually blow up stuff without lagging to hell, Captain SOB, and our great send-off to our Chief Engineer, Mr. Jarvis and Alfred. Sir, thank you very much for coming on to the show. I'm the Chief Strategic Operations Officer, Captain Marshall. We'll see you all out there, and hopefully lag-free too. Have a good night.